host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Little roller up along first. Behind the gets slow up there. Here comes Knight in the next win. See you in Pittsburgh. Can't wait. Ah! All the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.
You're tuned into Game On with Josh Silverberg and Eric Bowe. Talking all things sports. It's
Game on! Yeah, game on!
Game On, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
All right. You are tuning into Game On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Give us a call, 631-672-3108. Stream us everywhere you can on all the streaming platforms, YouTube, X. The link is posted on Facebook, Spotify, and everywhere else you stream. Now, I got to ask, how did I do with that intro? Because normally there's a guy named Josh here who does that. Tonight, he's nowhere to be found. Unbelievable. But you know what? I think we got some people who might be able to fill some shoes tonight. Let's see. Should we bring them in? Let's bring them in. Let's see. Who do we have? Hey, there they are. Wow.
You know, I'm trying to get my headset on, but I don't have it on.
Oh yeah, where is it? I'm looking for it.
Did Josh take it?
Oh,
I'm thinking he did.
This has got to go on. Thank you to my fabulous producer. Doesn't know how to use a board.
Oh.
He's been the king of doing this. Yesterday he did some interesting stuff too, which I don't even want to say on live air. But hey, you know.
Hey, you know what?
That seems like Speedy, who doesn't know how to turn on things. But hey, what's up, man?
What's going on? Good to see you guys. Been a while.
I had to come on a little bit and kind of give some takes and see what you want to talk about. But after being on a 4.5 hour show last night, I might as well, right? Is he backstage?
He exited the feed.
You went in and out.
It wasn't me. I don't know. Who's on the board there?
I wonder. Maybe it's Mr. Willie Whoppers. Who knows?
Hey, Speedy, you're appreciated. Thanks for your help.
I don't know about that. But what are we talking about tonight?
You know what, Errol? I figured since you're on, it only makes sense we start with some NBA action.
You sure you don't want to get into the NHL? I mean, that's a big story right now. Team USA versus Team Canada. The finals are right here. All-Star whatever you call this, the All-Star Four. What do they call it? The Four
Nations.
Four
Nation Championships. They should just call it the All-Star Championship, because that's what it is. I don't know why they call it Four Nation. It's an All-Star game. I know they're competing. I said it. I love what Gary Bettman is doing right now. I think it's great for the NHL. It's no question great for the NHL. But again, the going into this game, is it like winning an Olympic gold medal? I don't think so. But again, there's bragging rights. Whoever wins this game is going to brag all the way into the Olympics next year when the Winter Olympics start. And these are the teams that are going to be facing off from one another. I mean, you don't have Team Russia in this tournament. You don't have Czech Republic. You don't have all those teams, but you do have Finland, Sweden, and obviously Canada if you're the Team USA. But you get a chance to see some of the talent that is out there, and they get to know one another before the Olympics, which is what I would say 11 months away, 10 months away. So it's not far apart from what we expected, going into this tournament.
But do you think there's going to be a retaliation from Canada or whatever you want to call it in terms of first 5 minutes, gloves are dropped and haymakers are thrown in the finals?
There'll be fights. There's no question there's going to be fights tonight, but I don't know if it's going to start off at the face-off. Before the face-off and the puck drops, you're going to see 3 fights. But I expect at least maybe 3 to 4 fights in this game. Canada's going into the game. They know that the United States isn't 100% healthy. I don't think Brady Tkachuk is playing tonight. I'd be very surprised. Matthew will be there. He's not 100% with a lower injury. They don't even, that's the problem with hockey. They don't tell you what the injury is. They say it's an upper injury or lower injury. It doesn't make any sense, but he's got a lower injury. Austin Matthews has an upper injury, and they lost a couple of defensemen in this game to the United States. So they're going into the game shorthanded. Is Quinn playing tonight? I don't.
He's not able to unless the other defenseman gets hurt. So he has to they actually have to make that designation.
One of them did get hurt.
So yeah, then there's a shot if he can get there.
So that's another thing. The United States are going into the game where they're shorthanded with the defensive side of the puck, which their strength is really the defensive side of the puck and their goaltending. Now, Hellebuck will be 100% healthy, and he's been standing on his head throughout this tournament. But look what happened against Team Sweden. The United States couldn't put the puck in the net. So you're going into a game with Team Canada on Thursday night, as they're obviously going to go into the game wanting to prove themselves and knock the United States off in a game where a lot of people have the United States winning because it's on obviously home turf in Boston. The last game was I think it was in Toronto, if I'm not mistaken. So Montreal. So now you're playing in the United States for the championship game. Obviously, the fans are going to be on the United States side, you would hope. So they definitely have the home field advantage, home ice advantage. But what does that tell you? It didn't really help for Team Canada over there in Montreal.
No, and you know what? I'm glad you brought up the goalie play, right? The last time these two faced off, it was a 3-1 USA victory. Are we going to expect this game to go into a shootout? I don't know. It's one of those, like you said, the defense is shorthanded. Goaltenders are playing well above what they should be. Standing on their heads. Both sides. I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think it's going to a shootout. I don't see this game going to a shootout. I think it's going to be a 3-2 win or a 4-3 win. I expect it to go to 3 periods. Whoever gets the early 2-goal lead, because it's not going to be 1 goal that's going to pull away. Whoever scores the first 2 goals of the game, and I think one of these teams are going to go up 2-0. Whoever does that, I think, is going to win the game, because then the other team is going to play catch up, and they're going to have to risk and open up the ice a little bit more. And with the talent on both sides of the puck, somebody's bound to make a mistake. So I think it's going to be interesting early in the game. Who's going to get the lead and who's going to have the better goaltending? Obviously, with Hill it's either Binnington or Hill in the net. I think it's going to be Binnington in the net tonight. I don't know if it bodes well for Team Canada. With Team USA, Hellebuck is going to start tonight. He is one of the best goalies right now in the NHL. He's one of the hottest goalies in the NHL. So I think that the United States has always had the advantage at the goaltending position. But again, with the injuries that they have and losing maybe Brady Tkachuk and not having 100% Matthew Tkachuk or 100% Austin Matthews, everybody's going to say nobody's 100% in this tournament. I really believe what Connor McDavid said really grows. It's grown roots over the last couple of days. And what he said was, hey, we have another game against them. We're going to go out there and we're going to give it our all. So you know damn well the great player in Connor McDavid, the best player right now in the NHL, is going to go out there and try to prove a point and try to hurt people. So I expect this to be a rough game. The United States, you see what they're doing. They're hitting all over the ice. They lead right now this tournament in hits and penalty minutes. So the United States is going to put themselves, in position to make this a rough game. If it goes to a rough game, I think it bodes well for the United States. If it opens up in a finesse game, the United States will lose this game because the Canadian team has much more talent on the offensive side of the puck.
That's why it wouldn't surprise me a late goal late in the third period to send to a shootout.
I know that's what you want. I know that's what, Eric, I know that's what you want. I know that's what a lot of
that won't help for the U.S. either.
No,
if
it
they have
doesn't.
to rely on those breakaway guys, especially if Matthews isn't able to.
I don't know. Didn't we just talk about goalie advantage, Team USA, defense advantage, Canada right now with the U.S. shorthanded? That kind of bodes well for them, no?
Shootout advantage, Canada. I mean, there's too much talent. There's too much talent. Well, if you're one-on-one with the goalie, no matter how good your goaltending is, it always bodes well for the offensive player. So it's a one-on-one. You're going to bet on the guy that is, controlling the puck. So I wouldn't want to see Team USA and Team Canada go to a shootout. I think look at the guys that they have right now. Connor McDavid, you want to face him one-on-one. Mitch Marner, you want to face him one-on-one. I mean, there's a lot of guys that's on that roster that's pretty damn scary, especially in the shootouts. So I don't know if you're a United States fan, you want to see this go to a shootout. So I think you would expect if you're a hockey fan and you're a United States fan to make sure that this game, they get an early lead, they play a little hard and rough and use their bodies because that's where they're good at. You have guys like a fourth line of Brock Nelson and Trocheck. I'm sorry, I always say Trottier. It's funny. I bumped into a friend of mine that I just gave a picture of Brian Trottier to. So, yeah, so Trocheck. I mean, that fourth line that they're going to use you're going to use a little bit more of these Rangers that are a little bit more gritty. So I expect this to be a high-flying game, but a roughhousing game throughout the first two quarters. If the game is close, I expect it to open up in the third period offensively for both teams. So I think it could be, it could be really early. It could be a beatdown for one of these teams. And don't be surprised if Canada tries to get that first goal and really try to run the United States off the ice, because after what the United States did in that game, they embarrassed the Canadian team on their home ice. And now they can return the favor in Boston to Team USA. So,
Eric, what are your thoughts on the fights too?
Oh, yes, that's one of my favorite parts of hockey. And especially you're dropping gloves in the first 5 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. You're talking about being
times in 9 seconds.
I'm just saying you're going out there. You're setting the tone right away by doing that. No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're going to set the tone.
Don't be surprised if Canada's the one that instigates it this time.
You just said if this game turns to a finesse game, it favors Canada. If it 100%. Turns into a hard-hitting game,
yes.
What better way to make it that way? Dropping gloves again.
Don't be surprised. And again, the Canadian team aren't pussies, okay? They're not going to go out there and say, hey, this team is tougher than us. I mean, Connor McDavid can throw down. They've got a bunch of guys on this roster that could throw down. Fast, powerful, big men, especially the defenseman. Doughty. I mean, this is a big defense. The Canadian team, I think the smallest defenseman is Towns, who played for the
Islanders legend.
Devin Towns, who I think is like 6'1" or 6 foot. The rest of the team, the rest of the defensemen are 6'3", 6'2" or above. These guys are big and they're strong. So even though I think it bodes well for the team, the United States, if it goes to a hard-nosed, gritty game, I don't think it's a shoo-in against Team Canada, especially a Canadian team that got roughed house early in the game against the United States. So that was embarrassing to them. They do not want to go in for the rest of the season, knowing that they're going to have to face this United States team in the Olympics in one more year, especially when they got the best of them in 2 games. And this is Sidney Crosby's last hurrah. I mean, how many games does he have left for Team Canada? This is one, and he'll probably play in the Olympics next year, and that's it for Sid. I mean, Sid is what, 36, 37 years old, might have another 2 years left, and especially with the Olympics only being around for every 4 years. This is the last run for Sid the Kid. And don't be surprised if Sid the Kid gets the first goal in this game, especially how embarrassed he was in game number 1 against Team USA.
Absolutely. Now, you're just talking about embarrassment and All-Star. We have to talk NBA All-Star Weekend, right? I mean,
to the NBA.
I'm just saying, we're talking embarrassment and stuff that way. You have the rising stars, and they get to play in one of the games against the All-Stars as well. Draymond Green comes out and says what embarrassment that is and stuff too. I mean, I get it. You try to make it competitive and stuff, but is that the right way? Is there better ways to do that?
Draymond Green has always been known to open his big fat mouth. So I am not surprised. As a matter of fact, we had a clip on our show that we posted, and somebody said it was, verbal abuse, and they put a hold on our video. I told Speedy,
we found Draymond Green's burner accounts.
I told Speedy to take it down before they put a freeze on our platform. So I don't trust the Golden State Warriors, because it happened on my Instagram in the summertime during the Olympics when my Instagram got frozen, never reopened, and now I have to open up my own new Instagram. So I don't trust the NBA, and I don't trust anything that has anything to do with the Golden State Warriors.
Kevin Durant's coming after us.
I don't think it's Kevin Durant, but
Kevin Durant's burners are coming after us.
Draymond Green opening his mouth, it's not surprising. Obviously, we all know what he likes to do. He has a podcast. He does it with Baron Davis. These guys like to sell their sponsorships and their advertisements, and they want people to listen to all the garbage that comes out of his mouth. Just like he came out and said he was crying that Andrew Wiggins was traded, but he got Jimmy buckets for him. So, I expect Andrew Wiggins is going to be an all-star over there in Miami. Yeah, what drugs are you on? All right. But I just think Draymond Green coming out and saying what he said, I don't think he's wrong about the All-Star game. I think he's right that the NBA needs to figure out how to make the All-Star game better, especially when you have a G League dunker just kicking the opposite talent, first-round draft picks, and Castle and all these other guys. These guys Castle was a top 10 draft pick this past year, and he got dissed by a guy that's won back-to-back slam dunk contests who can't even get out of the G League. That's embarrassing for the NBA. And by the way, he's probably the best dunker we've ever seen in the slam dunk contest since Vince Carter. So, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing if you are an NBA player and you see a little 5'10" white boy jumping over cars and reverse dunking it right over those cars. I mean, it was incredible, but the NBA can't tell me that they were happy and they were willing to sell something like that. And Draymond Green isn't wrong about that. But I also believe that sitting here today and looking at what Draymond Green said, he is not all right at what he said. He's thrown so many people under the bus, but he's not wrong about Adam Silver. He's not wrong about the way the talent plays in the game. But why did you play in the game? Why have you played in the game for the last, 10 years? You've made the All-Star team what? Out of the last 10 years, he's made the All-Star team 6 times. And now all of a sudden, because he didn't make the All-Star team, he's complaining about it? That's Draymond Green-esque. When he's not involved with it, he's going to throw everybody under the bus. But guess what? TNT invited him to this desk of committee with Charles Barkley and Parker and Kenny Smith and then all this garbage, Shaquille O'Neal, and they're sitting there and they're the coaches of the team. What an embarrassment. That was embarrassing. And the NBA sitting there and thinking that this is something to sell. And by the way, while these games were going on, the 2 captains, the 2 coaches or whatever, the GMs of the team, Shaquille O'Neal or Parker or Kenny or Charles, they all are talking and broadcasting during the game, which was horrible. Absolutely horrible. So I don't know what TNT is doing. I don't know what the NBA is doing, but it was absolutely embarrassing. And Adam Silver should be ashamed of himself. And how about LeBron James? actually taking a spot away from one of these other guys that could have made the team, could have played in the tournament, and decided, 5 hours before the games that he's sitting out. What an embarrassment. The biggest superstar in the NBA doing what he did, and he could still show up there. He probably still could sit on the bench or sit on the sidelines like he was doing and not take away a spot from one of these young players or one of these players that deserve to be there, like a Jalen Brunson or somebody like that.
John Morant.
Or John Morant that should have been there.
Norman Powell.
Mm-hmm. Norman Powell.
Crazy. Yeah. Absolutely. The entire thing of it just seemed like, okay, when's the action going to happen? When is the actual All-Star game going to happen? When are we going to see the Kobe guarding MJ? When are we going to see the Kobe guarding LeBron? When are we going to see like the hard-nosed defense that you don't get to see in those games? It never happened. I mean, Kyrie tried a little bit going after Wemby a little bit, some crossovers and stuff that way, but you didn't have that tough defense that the fans want, that the NBA wants. And with this style and this format, it just, I don't know. I don't think it was its best foot forward.
How about the NBA inviting Wembanyama, who's one of the best young players in the league, and then all of a sudden after the game, a story comes out that he has blood clots and he's out for the rest of the season? How does the NBA answer to that question? I mean, this guy was just on a basketball court during the All-Star game, and then all of a sudden, before the second half of the season starts, this guy is out for the season because he has blood clots. How did the Spurs catch that, or how hasn't the NBA caught that before the All-Star game? That's pretty interesting myself.
Before even playing a game in the second half of the season. His last game was the All-Star game.
Yep.
And then
it's
also
very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Who was the one that really tried the hardest to look like in the All-Star game?
Wembanyama.
Exactly. Running up and down the court, trying to block shots, trying to make it competitive. Yeah, that's kind of eerie right there.
It's fishy, and the NBA is probably going to have to answer to it. Probably not now, because obviously the second half of the season really hasn't started except for the Lakers. And by the way, they were absolutely embarrassed by the Charlotte Hornets last night. That was just pathetic. That was a pathetic showing of LeBron James and Luka Doncic. I don't know what's going on over there, but obviously it takes a little while for a new player to figure out the offensive side of the ball. But you could tell that LeBron James and Luka are not seeing eye to eye on the basketball court, which is, to me, very appealing to me to watch when you watch these guys. If you notice, when LeBron James is on the court, Luka is barely not. So you're seeing what the Lakers are doing. They're moving LeBron in the first rotation, and then moving Luka to the second rotation, and seeing how that's going to work before maybe they bring them together and see how they play with one another. So far, what we've seen with them on the same court is they're both trying to figure each other out. This isn't Anthony Davis. Luka Doncic is a guy that demands the ball. Who demands the ball over the years is LeBron James. These guys are demanding. And by the way, they're two of the biggest crybabies on the basketball court too. So you have two crybabies crying about every single call. LeBron James claims he got smacked or whatever happened, I think in the third quarter yesterday. And he's standing there while the refs allow the Hornets to take the ball down the court, and he still has his hand out there while the LaMelo Ball is jamming the ball on his teammates. So it just shows you how selfish LeBron James is.
Well, I mean, let's also look at that game last night. Who got, out of all people, not LeBron, not Luka, Austin Reeves gets ejected from that game for arguing on a call.
Almost New York Knicks, Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves. How does Austin Reeves get ejected, and then the Charlotte Hornets go on a 17-1 run? Austin Reeves. This isn't LeBron James or Luka Doncic. This is Austin Reeves. As soon as he gets thrown out of the game, this Charlotte Hornet team goes on a 17-1 run. Embarrassing. How could you sit there as a Laker fan and watch what you have watched going into the first game of the second half of the season after the All-Star break, after your guy, LeBron James, decides 5 hours before the All-Star game tournament, he is sitting out and screwing whoever was supposed to take his place. Now, if he let the NBA 24 hours know that he wasn't playing, they would have called somebody else up to fly over there and play in his stead. But instead, he screwed whoever was going to take his spot, which, by the way, he was 100% healthy because right after the All-Star game, he goes on a plane, and then within 24 hours, he plays in that Charlotte Hornets game or whatever. Within 48 hours, he's in that Charlotte Hornets game. So I just an embarrassment.
Even more irony because, let's see, you have now Dalton Connect on your team when he should be on the other side there. You have Mark Williams on the other side who should be on your team. Just it's funny how it all worked out that way.
Very NBA-esque, as I have said this. The NBA, all of a sudden, I've never seen anything like that. It only happens with the Lakers. And I brought it up. Chris Paul, years and years ago, was practically traded to the Lakers. And then David Stern got involved with it and said, nope, it's not a fair trade. He completely obsoleted it, threw it to the wall, and it didn't stick. And it never happened. That as soon as David Stern retired and this Adam Silver guy took over, it becomes the LeBron James show. And it's very LeBron James-esque that this happened. I'm not trying to beat around the bush here. This is LeBron James and Adam Silver and the Lakers and the NBA having a love fest, because I don't care what anybody says. I absolutely believe the NBA had something to do with that trade completely canceled. And then all of a sudden, this Luka Doncic trade, which is an absolute ripoff for the Dallas Mavericks, as the fans have been booing the GM and ownership. And Jason Kidd was absolutely shocked when he heard his best player was traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, a guy that can't stay healthy, and a bag of bones. So it only tells me one thing. The NBA is in cahoots with the Lakers and everything they're all about when it comes to the NBA and trying to draw fans to watch. So,
and I would say who's not in cahoots with the NBA, I would say Bobby Portis. I don't know if you heard about that. Bobby
Portis.
Game suspension for taking a banned substance. And now the substance wasn't a PED or anything, right? It's one that it can make you drowsy. Is it technically an opioid? Yeah. But at the same time, it's a painkiller in the sense, right? So think about it. 25 games for Portis there. How many games did Kevin Porter Jr. get suspended? 0. How many games did Miles Bridges get? 30 technically, but he served most of it the season before.
How about
and spent it in free agency?
How many games did John Morant get for pulling out a gun? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. How many games did he get? And that's pulling out and actually threaten somebody that he's going to kill them. And this guy is taking an opioid and you're suspending him for 25 games. How many games did John Morant get suspended for? 30?
25.
25?
It was 25.
25 games.
Yep.
I mean, embarrassing for the NBA to embarrass Portis. And if I was Portis, I would absolutely go and talk to the players union and argue and fight this, because there's no way you can sit there and say John Morant, who's been caught on video and with pictures all over social media, pulling out a gun in 2 years, pulling out his gun almost 3 times and only getting a 25-game suspension. It's an embarrassment. And that is very NBA-esque. Another Adam Silver move, if you ask me. So just a horrible commissioner.
The League of Selectivity.
Yep.
And this isn't even our "you're better than that" segment, but it kind of turned to that, because it's look at how much nonsense is going on with the NBA right now. It's just absolutely terrible.
It's always been nonsense. I mean, come on. I've been watching the NBA. Said this is my favorite sport. Basketball has always been my favorite sport growing up. I was a hockey player. I played all different sports, but the Knicks were always my love when it came to sports. It's always been my number one love. And I've watched from the days of Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley and Charles Smith, John Starks, Xavier McDaniel, Kiki Vanderway. I remember all those teams, and I love those teams equally. Anthony Mason. I will say this. Ever since David Stern gave this man, Adam Silver, the reins to run this organization, he's absolutely ruined it. He's given it to the players, and the players run the NBA. How many owners have been run out of the NBA because of things that they said in the past? Think about that. Okay, they're racist. Yes, they were despicable. 100%. They're not wrong. I absolutely believe it. Do they get fined? Yes. I mean, the Patriots cheated for 2 Super Bowls, and they get rid of the video, and nobody talks about it anymore. They keep their Super Bowls, and it's just the Patriots. Who cares? Deflategate. We'll just suspend Tom Brady for 4 games. Give me a break.
After a smashed cell phone.
Give me a break. I mean, honestly, just think about that. Just think about it. 2 owners from the Clippers and the Utah Jazz, right? It was the Utah Jazz?
It was the Suns. The Suns.
The Suns, I'm sorry. The Suns and the Clippers, both owners were pushed out of their ownership by the players because of what they said in the past. Were they right? No. Were they wrong? Absolutely. Should they have a draft pick taken away from them? Probably. But their teams taken away from them because of what they said? No. I don't. And the players ran them out. And why? Because the NBA allowed it. The NBA allows everything. Kyrie Irving, all those anti-Semitic things that he did a couple of years ago in Brooklyn. He said it. He didn't care. Adam Silver, who's Jewish, did nothing. He just said, I sat down with Kyrie and we talked about it. And then they suspended him for 3 games? They gave him a 3-game suspension. All right. By the way, the same guy that didn't want to take the COVID shot and didn't want to wear a mask during COVID like all the players were supposed to. All right. The same guy who thinks that the earth is flat. All right. And then goes out there, apologizes to the Brooklyn fans after half of them took their season tickets and told them they suck on it and we want our money back. And then they trade him to Dallas within, I would say, a couple of months. And then he goes out there at the press conference and says, you know what? I take back what I said. I didn't mean, I meant every word I said, and I shouldn't have to apologize for my beliefs. And the NBA didn't do anything to him. They let him get away with it. So this is very NBA-esque. And look, Kevin Durant didn't think it was wrong. LeBron James didn't think it was wrong. Kawhi Leonard didn't think it was wrong. Are you kidding me? Anti-Semitic attacks on your social media and the NBA was okay with it? But if it had anything to do with anything else that the NBA players didn't like, get him out of here. He's gone. Suspend him. Throw him out of the league. Sell your team. That is why nobody likes watching the NBA.
God forbid anyone takes a shot at the sacred Barney James.
That's another thing, by the way. And I love what Jaylen Brown said in the summertime. Absolutely respect Jaylen Brown because he's not wrong. Him and then Chandler Parsons came out and said something interesting about LeBron James and the Bronny James story. And Chandler Parsons obviously shouldn't be speaking, but at one point he was an all-star in the NBA. He was actually a pretty good player for 5 years before his injury situation. Chandler Parsons came out and said, listen, this whole LeBron James, Bronny James thing should go away. It shouldn't even be here. Bronny James should not be in the NBA. It shouldn't have even been thought of. The guy is not an NBA player, but because of who his father is and because he is the NBA, everybody's just going to say, well, it's LeBron James' son. Who cares? You know, it's an embarrassment. The NBA should be ashamed of themselves. So Draymond Green isn't wrong about the embarrassment, but he's looking at the embarrassing thought in a different way, which he shouldn't be looking at. He should be looking at the NBA that his peers are running the NBA. He is running the NBA, and there is no ownership or coaches that can stop them. So look at Jimmy Butler. Look what he did. You know what he decided to do? You know what? And I love Jimmy Butler. I don't want to go to practice. I don't want to play. No? All right. You're going to get suspended. And then we're going to try to find a trade. And what did he do? He got exactly what he wanted. He went to a team that he's playing with 2 other superstars and a pretty good team that just needed another superstar player to play with them. And now he can go to the playoffs to make a run with the Golden State Warriors and give him a chance to win. He got exactly what he wanted. And by the way, when he was traded, got his extension, his 3-year extension that he wanted, worth over $40-something million. So who won on that? Jimmy Buckets. By crying and saying, I'm not practicing. I'm not playing. So, I mean, it's an embarrassment. This is the NBA. This is the NBA.
One of the bright spots this year, could we say, is the Knicks, right? Now Mitchell Robinson getting healthy. Does he force his way into the starting lineup? If so, who do you put to the bench? Do you move Cat to the 4? Do you let Mitch go to the 5? Move Hart, Bridges, OG?
I think OG is coming back too. So I would expect what they're going to do is they're going to start Jalen Brunson at the 1. They're going to either rotate Hart and OG at the 2 position. At the 3, they're probably going to try to bring size depending on who they're playing against on how they can decide how they want to bring the size in. They can actually move Cat to the 3 because it creates a mismatch in the playoffs. It becomes a half-court game. He's unstoppable in the perimeter. Who's going to defend him at the 3? And now if they rotate somebody to defend him on the defensive side of the ball, it gives openings for guys like Jalen Brunson, for a lane and stuff like that. So, I mean, the Knicks could create so many mismatches. Do I think Mitchell Robinson is a starter? 100%. They're going to play, depending on who they're going to match up against, like the Celtics. Oh, you best believe they're going to play Mitch and Karl Anthony Towns together. Why? That creates the size. And by the way, Karl Anthony Towns averages how many rebounds a game right now? Almost 12. You're bringing Mitchell Robinson, who's the best offensive rebounder in the last 3 years of the NBA when healthy. You're putting him with Cat. 2 guys that's going to average almost 30 rebounds a game. 2 guys. One that's averaging 12, and Mitch in certain games averages between 13 and 15. Just think about that.
I mean, Hart's 10 already by himself.
Yes, and you have Hart, who creates mismatches. I think what they're going to do is they're going to move Hart to the second team with McBride. You have a rotation over there. You have Precious over there. I think that rotation over there is pretty damn good for a second-tier type of offense and defense. And that's going to be your defensive side of the ball because you have Hart, McBride, and you have Precious. 3 guys that can play defense. Maybe you kind of move one of these other guys. Maybe you put OG with the second team here and there, or then you move Jalen Brunson to the second team, depending on the playoffs. Listen, they're in a position where they haven't been in a very long time with the depth that they have. The only thing that worries me is Tom Thibodeau likes to overplay his superstar players. That scares me if I'm a Knicks fan because I've seen a lot of play with Karl Anthony Towns this year. Hart's played a lot. Jalen Brunson's played a lot already. And now you have Mitch coming back, who is, let's be honest, this guy is one bone away from retirement. I mean, seriously, every time this guy is 100% healthy, something bad happens. You saw what happened to the 76ers. I'm not blaming that on him. I blame that on Joel Embiid. But that was such a minor grab to his leg, and then he has to have surgery on his ankle. Come on. I mean, that to me is puny. You're a 7-foot man. You put on some weight. You're a strong man. I think they said that he squats 350 pounds. You're squatting that, and all it takes is, Joel Embiid to hang on your leg when you're trying to put up a layup, and you're out for the season, and you're out for almost half a season. To me, that's an embarrassment. That's just me. And by the way, they lost him for the second round after that.
Right. See, I can't disagree with that rotation, but I would not be surprised if it's Bridges that gets moved to the second unit. Right?
I don't. I move Bridges. I wouldn't do that.
No, right. Can't find the shot right now. Still kind of finding it a little bit.
I'm not worried about Bridges. I'll tell you why I wouldn't worry about Bridges. His ability to play the pick and roll at the top of the key is something that one of the main reasons why they made the move for him and gave up 5 first-round draft picks for him. He'll figure it out. And plus, you can put Bridges really at the 4. That creates mismatches at the 4. How many 4s can defend him around the perimeter with his shot? I mean, come on. The Knicks could create so many mismatches in the Eastern Conference. How is Cleveland going to compete with them with Mitch and OG 100% healthy? How are they going to be able to compete with them? They're big and they're strong. They had problems with the Knicks in the playoffs last year, and the Knicks didn't have the size they have going into the playoffs this year. I mean, this is the same Cleveland team. What's different about them?
Mm-hmm. Even Jared Allen comes out and explains that, the size that and everything that Cat can do opens up the perimeter, drives. There's no way Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are stopping that. And especially you have Mitch in the lineup now too. There's mismatch.
It's the offensive rebounding that the Knicks have been so very good with Tom Thibodeau or Thibodeau. I call him Tibbs, whatever. I think what makes Tom Thibodeau's defense work is he has everybody going after the boards. And in the playoffs, you need second chances if you expect to compete against the best teams in the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics are a good rebounding team. The Cleveland Cavaliers are a good rebounding team. Over the years, Miami has been a good rebounding team. So these are teams. Milwaukee, a good rebounding team. So the Knicks are the best out of all those teams in the last 3 years because of one person, Mitchell Robinson. So now you add Cat with Mitch, Cat's having one of his best years as a pro. Why? Because he's playing with players and he's playing with a team that he's always wanted to play for. He always wanted to be here in New York. Always. He came from New Jersey. He grew up in New Jersey. He grew up a Knicks fan. So he grew up a Yankee fan. Jim Lawrence told us a story about Karl Anthony Towns when he met him when he was traded to the Knicks. He met him during the World Series. And Jim Lawrence told me that Cat said he was the biggest fan of his growing up. So, and he got his autograph. And Jim Lawrence says, "You want my autograph? I want your autograph." So it just says a lot about Karl Anthony Towns and how happy he is to be home. So if there's anybody that has to worry about, anybody in the Eastern Conference, is everybody that is going to have to face the New York Knicks if they're 100% healthy.
Absolutely. And you know what that they have that's really great is that team chemistry, right? Granted, it's a lot of the first year time playing with each other, but that chemistry is great that they have already. They've established that. I do have some concern with team chemistry, and I'm switching gears now to baseball, but you see a Boston Red Sox team who has a third baseman already, says he's the third baseman, and yet they still sign a third baseman. I mean, when Alex Bregman is signed, are they going to play him at second base? They're going to try him at third base? Rafi Devers was your franchise. You gave him the contract and everything. Now you bring in Bregman. Is there not going to be some feathers ruffled there?
Obviously, there's feathers ruffled. I mean, you're hearing stories that the Blue Jays are trying to make a trade to send Vladimir Guerrero over there to Boston so they can get Rafi Devers, because everybody knows that Vladimir Guerrero is not going to re-sign with the Blue Jays next year. He pretty much gave a hint that he has no interest in re-signing with them after what they have done over the last couple of years, going after Ohtani and then going after all these free agents in the offseason and striking out. He wanted the contracts. Bichette wanted the contract, and now these guys didn't get their contract, and they're saying, you know what? You didn't want to give us the contract then. We don't want to sign it now when we're going to become free agents. So now, knowing that they're going to lose Vladimir Guerrero for nothing in the offseason, they have a chance to get Rafael Devers from the Red Sox, who just signed an 11-year contract 3 years ago, and now you have control of him for the next 7 to 8 years. Who wouldn't want to do that if you were the Blue Jays? So you're hearing stories that the Blue Jays are in the mix to maybe make a move for Rafael Devers. Why? Because the Boston Red Sox slapped him right in the back of the head. It was a shocking move. You give this guy an 11-year, $350 million contract, made him one of the richest third basemen in all of baseball. And then all of a sudden, your franchise player finds out within, hours of the stories coming out that the Bregman story is that the Red Sox are in a mix and two other teams are in a mix for Bregman. And then all of a sudden, it was a slam dunk that the Red Sox made the move and signed him to a $42 million contract, gave him a 3-year deal. And guess what? Guess who's making more than Rafael Devers? Alex Bregman. And by the way, Alex Cora went up at the press conference and said, "We're going to play the best player at third base." What are you trying to say here? You're saying that Rafael Devers is not your best player all of a sudden after bringing in Alex Bregman? That's a smack in the face. So Absolutely. What are you doing? And by the way, Rafael Devers came out and said the only reason why he wanted the extension is because of Alex Cora. And that's the same guy that smacked him in the back of the head. Sorry. So
listen, it doesn't make sense from the Boston Red Sox side, from Devers' side, right? You haven't given out those kind of contracts in how many seasons? You give it to Devers. That's been your biggest move in the past couple of years, basically, right? Now all of a sudden, Bregman's here. We have a chance. We can move him. We'll start him at second base. You know what? No, maybe we want to start at third base. How were you not livid if you're Devers like that.
If
And that's
I would,
Same thing with Pete Alonso a couple of years ago. He
if
didn't
I
want to
were
go
the
off first.
if I were the Mets right now, I'd be reaching out to the Boston Red Sox. They wanted Rafael Devers years ago.
Yep.
They wanted him years ago, and the Boston Red Sox said, no way, we're not trading him, we're not moving him. Now with all the stuff going on, the Blue Jays are in a mix. Instead of going after Vladimir Guerrero, where you're going to have to pay $500 million, you could get Rafael Devers for what do they owe left? There's 3 years of a $350 million.
This is year 3, so there's 9 years left of that deal.
So you have to pay him $200 and something million. You're saving almost $300 million that you would have to play Vladdy.
Right.
And then you could take that $300 and put it into pitching. If I were the Mets, I would absolutely reach out to the Red Sox.
Glad it's not $100 million, $150 million better than Devers is.
No, I don't think so either. I think Vlad's good, but is he that much better than Devers? I mean, and Devers, fills in your problem at third base. If I was the Mets,
and he's lefty and could stay healthy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I were the Mets, I would absolutely reach out to the Red Sox. And the Mets have a ton of draft stock, a ton of young players that the Red Sox would be interested in. And the organization is looking to continue to rebuild. I think it's a slam dunk. At Bregman, it'll make Bregman look really, really bad because he went to a crappy team where they traded away their best player because you went to the team. So I don't know what the Red Sox are doing. I just think I know they're trying to keep up with the Yankees. I understand.
That would be interesting too. Never happened. Don't get me wrong. Never happened, but that would be interesting, a team to sneak in and get Devers.
Never happened. Never happened.
Won't.
They would never trade Rafael Devers to the Yankees. Never, unless they were trading Judge, which the Yankees will never do. So that's never going to happen. So Yankee fans.
Cole would push for it. Garrett Cole would definitely push for it.
Garrett Cole push for it, yeah, because he doesn't want to play against them. But I do not believe the Yankees would ever have a chance. But I do believe the Mets do. Why not? They get him out of the American League. You don't have to. What do you have to see him twice every other year or every year? I mean, you don't have to see him that much. So I honestly think that's what I think the Mets should be doing right now, reaching out. If I was Uncle Stevie, I'd be reaching out to the Red Sox right now and seeing what would get the deal done, because you still have Pete Alonso. I traded Pete Alonso in a trade for Rafael Devers. Put Pete Alonso. I mean, he's only there for 1 year. It's a good contract, $30 million. Put Pete Alonso and a couple of young, players that they traded for over the last couple of years. That'll get the deal done. And then you have Rafael Devers for 9 years, and he's a Met for life. And guess what? Another Dominican that's playing with Juan Soto and Lindor. And that's what they want. They want to make it an all, Spanish, Dominican team. I think that's what they're trying to do. So, I mean, they brought a manager in that's, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Puerto Rican or Dominican. And now half their team is Dominican. So, and they're stars. So, why couldn't that happen? I think that makes more sense than going after Vladdy, because you can save a lot of money.
I think Diaz is from Puerto Rico too.
Yeah.
That was where he got hurt with the injury in the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, so it's becoming all Spanish.
There's going to be 29 teams reaching out, right?
I think he's available. I think everything that I've read, that the Red Sox are not very happy with him on his thoughts to tell, the organization that he is the third baseman and nobody's taking his job away from him. And then Alex Cora had the audacity, after that whole story came out from the media and him talking to a writer in the media, and that's Rafael Devers. Alex Cora speaks to the media during spring training and says, listen, we're going to play the best guy at third base, no matter what anybody says. So that's a smack in the face to your franchise player who you brought up in your farm system, and you bring in Alex Bregman, who's a washed-up hitter who hasn't hit very well in the last 2 seasons. So I don't know. And by the way, what would happen? Alex Bregman's contract. Listen to this. There is a clause in his contract after his first year that he can opt out of the contract. So just think about this. You pissed off your best player. All right. Now you have Alex Bregman, who has a good season with the Red Sox. I said this on the show. He hits 35 home runs. He gets 100 RBIs, and he's an all-world defensive player, Gold Glove, and he's only 31 years old. He says, you know what? I'm going to free agency. I'm not staying. I don't want to be here. This team sucks. I got to play the Yankees with this team for the next 3 years. Get out of here. I don't have to deal with this. I'm going to go somewhere else. And he opts out of the contract. And then they traded Devers to the Blue Jays or Mets for a bag of rookies. And then all of a sudden, they're rebuilding again for another 5 to 10 years. That would be a disaster for the Red Sox. A disaster. Alex Cora will be looking for a new job pretty quickly. And he wouldn't be opening his mouth, throwing his best player under the bus, saying, we're going to play the best player. So it's the most ridiculous move and a ridiculous statement.
If Devers does get traded, I hope Bregman has the Jason Bay, Tyler O'Neill kind of offensive year. Because you're right, he's going to opt out. And when that happens, then you're stuck with Trevor Story. And you know what? Another name on that Sox team that I would be cautious about possibly trading to, who's already been in the rumors for it, but is also speaking his thoughts, Tristan Casas, right? Kind of defending Devers, kind of poo-pooing a little bit with Bregman, kind of explaining, no, we have our guys, we have this and stuff. You're going into spring training with a lot of the opposite of team chemistry, right? You're going in with a lot of animosity of, no, he should be playing. No, this rookie should be playing. No, these rookies shouldn't be playing. Kind of playing GM as a player right there. And come on, PR 101 in baseball is, no, you don't talk about that. You do what's best for the team and everything that way, right? So that's going to be the fun part. The other part with it, they have, like you said, a very competitive AL East. They have the Yankees, which also I'm not going to say the Yankees.
I don't think it's that competitive. I really don't. Baltimore, they lost Burns. He goes to Arizona. I mean, they have a bunch of young players that definitely are big bats, but we saw what happened at the end of the season. They fell apart because of their pitching staff. What did they bring in the offseason? They lost pitchers. They didn't gain any pitchers.
They got the great Charlie Morton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Old man Charlie, who's great in the playoffs. I mean, if they actually make the playoffs, they're definitely not winning that division.
No, but you know what? Honest opinion, Errol.
Mm-hmm.
3 teams, yes or no? 3 teams from the AL East make the playoffs.
No.
No?
No. Not this year.
Who from the Central?
I think the Rays are still rebuilding. They traded away Glass now and all those other stuff. Their star shortstop looks like he's going to jail in the Dominican Republic. I mean, they just paid him a lot of money, and now they're really eating up that contract until something happens with this. They're still paying this guy. All right, so I don't know what's going on with that, but the Rays aren't going to be good. I think Baltimore will be in the race with the Yankees. I do. I don't know if they have enough pitching unless they make a trade at the trade. I don't think they have enough. All right. Cleveland's going to be good this year. Right. I do believe it. I do. I think Minnesota's going to be good this year. So and I think they have a very good roster, and their relief pitching, their bullpen is as good as anybody's in baseball. So I think they're going to be good. All right.
You would say better than Boston.
Yes. Okay. I like Texas this year. I like what they've done. They brought Nathan Eovaldi back. I think they have a very good roster. And even though they had a bad season last year, they have Bruce Bochy there. And adding some of the players that they added in the offseason is going to make them better. So I expect Texas to be up there. Seattle's going to be there. I still think the Astros are going to be there. I can't say that the Astros aren't going to be in the mix of possibly making the playoffs with their young pitching and some of the young prospects that they have that they're calling up this year, even with some of the losses that they had. I think all those teams are going to be competitive.
You can't forget DeGrom is back for Texas too.
What happened?
DeGrom is back for Texas this year too.
I think Texas is going to be dangerous this year. I do. I think their pitching staff's very good, sneaky, very good. And I think their roster, and they have the best. I don't care what anybody says. He's the best manager in baseball. I don't think you can argue that. This guy's won everywhere he's gone. And he's won 3. He's been to 3 World Series, right? 3 World Series, and he's won with 2 of them. So, and he's been to 3 World Series with 3 different teams. How many managers have done that? So, I mean, Bochy is a great manager. He gets everybody to play for him. So, I expect Texas to be a world beater this year. So, I think the American League is not as I'll say this: the Yankees by far are the best team in the American League. If they stay healthy with Fried and Cole, that rotation is as good as the LA Dodgers. I don't think you can argue the two best rotations in baseball, the Dodgers and the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can argue that.
I do have concerns with the Yankees, but go ahead.
I'm sorry.
There's definitely concerns with the Yankees. Right now you have Stanton, right, who's not swinging a bat, some elbow injuries.
Yeah.
Which I think then shortens the lineup, especially when you have third base.
He'll be fine.
Cabrera.
He'll be fine.
Right? But it's going to be a slow start. And that deep.
They have Jason. If Jason Dominguez finally stays healthy, as they call him, the Martian, okay, he finally stays healthy in this lineup. Maybe we see what the Yankees have seen in him when they brought him from the Dominican Republic and gave him a $3 or $4.5 million contract as a 15-year-old. That is what everybody has been waiting for. And he's still very young. He's 21, 22 years old. He came into the majors. I mean, he was bought by the Yankees at 15, 16. Last year, I think he was like 20 years old. I mean, the guy's like 21, 22 years old. He's a kid. So, I mean, I expect to see Jason Dominguez be a big part of this offense this year. And he's a righty and a lefty. I think the Yankees, listen, the Yankees, their lineup is much better than it was last year. I don't care. Losing Juan Soto, yes, you lost a big name, and he goes to the Mets, and let's cry about it. All right? You added 2 bats. Goldschmidt, yes, he's old. If Goldschmidt at first base, he gives you a shutdown first baseman, which Rizzo was not that. I'm sorry, and I like you, Rizzo. Anthony, you have not been a shutdown first base. I think your first year as a Yankee, you were a shutdown first baseman. After that, you sucked. And the Yankees kept bringing you back because you were Aaron Judge's butt buddy. Okay? Anthony Rizzo sucked. We haven't had a defensive player like Paul Goldschmidt since Mark Teixeira. Okay? That was the last good defender at that position. This guy is an Do you think that Goldschmidt would have made that same mistake that Anthony Rizzo made in the World Series? Never. Never. He would have ran to first base. So that was old man Anthony telling you that I'm old and I don't want to do anything anymore. I was just happy to be here. So I don't know. I think the Yankees are much better.
Goldschmidt's bat, though, is that a question mark? Obviously, we know his defense is great.
In Yankee Stadium? 82 games in Yankee Stadium? Really? Or what, 80 games in Yankees or 81 games in Yankee Stadium? Not a chance. You're talking about a guy that played in St. Louis, a big ballpark, at a pitcher's ballpark. Okay. Now you're going to Yankee Stadium, which is a bandbox. And by the way, he's a lefty and he pulls the ball. All right. So, right. I think Goldschmidt's a lefty, right?
Goldie's right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, not Rizzo. Not Rizzo.
Bellinger.
Bellinger going over there is going to be a big bat for the Yankees as well. I think he's going to hit 30 to 35 home runs in Yankee Stadium or close to it. Not in just Yankee Stadium, but throughout the season. I think he's going to be he's so happy to be a Yankee because he grew up as a Yankee fan because his father was a Yankee. So he loves it. He's so happy. He's so excited to be with the Yankees. I think this is going to be a great year for Bellinger. And I think adding Goldschmidt and Bellinger to kind of protect Aaron Judge, I think it makes it better. Now, what I didn't like was the Gleyber Torres thing, the way they treated Gleyber Torres. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way the Yankees treated him. Gleyber Torres did not get a lot of money in the offseason. I think he went to Detroit, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
He went to
United with New York second base legend Javi Baez.
But it also took less money because the Nats offered him more money, but the Nats wanted him to play third base.
Mm-hmm. What did he get? What did he get? $20 million? He got nothing. I mean, the Yankees should have just given him the money and, and had him play another 2 or 3 years over there with the Yankees. He signed a very small, I think it was like a 3-year deal. He didn't sign a long-term deal. I mean, and I think he could opt out after a certain amount of time. So I think that the Yankees made the wrong move over there. I think Gleyber Torres was a big loss. Losing Soto, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised that the Yankees were going to lose him.
I don't think that's surprising.
I didn't think the Yankees were bringing him back, and I think anybody that knows the Yankees knows they weren't Juan Soto away from beating the Dodgers. They needed they needed more talent around Aaron Judge. And I think by adding the bats that they did and the pitching that they did, they gave themselves a closer, which they never had and they haven't had. So Devin Williams, if he stays healthy, they have a power closer, which they haven't had in a very long time since I don't even want to mention it, but because it makes me sick. But they have, listen, they added 4 to 5 players for one. And they added arguably the best left-handed pitcher in baseball when healthy. I mean, if you look at his statistics in the last 5 years when healthy, who's better left-handed pitcher than Max Fried? Who?
Absolutely.
Nobody. So, and now you have him playing with the best, probably you could argue one of the top 3 right-handed pitchers in baseball. So a 1-2 punch in the playoffs like that, going on the mound 1-2, and yeah, Fried's record in the playoffs is not good, but he hasn't really been healthy enough to play in the playoffs. He's only played in 3 games,
and he's beat the Dodgers. So guess what? That's going to come up big. Come up big. Now, Errol, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the segment we do on the show right before closing time. I don't know. It's called something of the likes, you're better than that. Right? So on this segment, to me, it's one of my favorite parts, but we talked about the NBA and all the screws. Let's talk about you go on a rant, you go over something that's bothering you in the sports field, you just want to get off your chest, and you end it with a you're better than that. So if you want, we'll let Speedy go first. He can give you a quick rundown of it. Again, Speedy.
I got it, but I'll let Speedy go. Go ahead.
All right, so it's funny. I was originally going to do the Costas thing, but you brought it up already. So I'll go to college football. I'm going to go to the SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey. After just 1 year, already said, "Oh, I want to revise the college football playoff format that he created."
Enjoy.
He sounds like he's very butthurt because all his SEC teams outside of Texas really struggled in that tournament, and they just want to revise everything and change it all over again for these teams not to get the buys. So, Greg Sankey, you may have been the powerhouse of college football for a while, but it's not the same. You're better than that.
Errol, you want to take it next?
Yeah, why not? I'm trying to think of what I could really attack what's going on. How about this? Adam Silver, who has been an absolute joke for the NBA, who thought that this was going to be a replicated move like the NHL did with this tournament with Team USA. He decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to split it up in 4 teams. I'm going to let Charles Barkley, I'm going to let Parker, I'm going to let Kenny Smith, and I'm going to let Shaquille O'Neal be the captains of these teams and coach these teams all the way throughout this All-Star game, and then doing what he has done over the last couple of years with this All-Star game. I think that he's been an absolute joke. I think that the NBA needs to figure out a way to either fix the All-Star game or just get rid of it completely. And by the way, he needs to get rid of this inside, what do they call it? In-game tournament, or beginning season tournament, which has absolutely screwed up the NBA. So I guess you can. What's the saying? You think?
Come on.
What is it?
Come on.
You're better than that.
There you go. You know what? I'm going to stick with the NBA as well. And you know what? I'm probably a broken record with it. But how many times with the whole injury reporting,
any hair on it?
With the injury reporting, whether this guy's healthy, you're going to get fined because we think you're healthy enough to play, i.e. Trae Young beginning of the year. To now all of a sudden trades being rescinded because, I don't think he's healthy enough. Meanwhile, how many other doctors, and he came out and played against your Laker team and stuff that way. There's got to be something better than getting fines and then not fined. There's got to be more structure when it comes to the injury reporting. Although hockey's trying to do its best, like you said earlier, too. Upper body injury, lower body injury. The NBA did that. That would be the only way they can get worse currently. So come on. You're better than that.
Willy Whoppers, Speedy! Willy Whoppers!
There it is. Errol, Speedy, I can't thank you both enough for joining the show tonight. We hope Josh is having fun.
Slap that ass. Slap that ass. I want you to slide it. Spank
Any
it.
final remarks before we head out?
I am a disturbing person. Are you a meat bender?
Guys, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out all the other shows that are awesome on this network.
Like
I'm pretty sure you have a show, right? When can people watch it?
Monday and Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. As always, tune in the Job in a Mouth show, as we're always crazy and great guests. So you definitely got to tune into that and watch Speedy pull down his pants and show his
Never
little
gonna
inches.
happen.
Hey, family friendly.
it's good for both.
Family friendly, yeah.
Good for me and good for you. It's good for both.
No, it's not.
I can't. On that one, that's it. You got a game winner right there. All right. Go Team USA tonight, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
We're for shutout. Let's see if it happens.
sense.
Guys, you're listening to Game On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Make sure you check out all the awesome shows. It's been fun. We'll catch you again next Thursday, 6 p.m. We'll see you there. Guys, thank you.
Spank it. Spank it.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.